I'm calling to order the Stormwater Management Utility Board meeting of August 21st, 2024. At this time, can someone make a motion to approve today's agenda?
I so move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion carries. We just made a quorum here, so we have 4 members, so we can meet and vote on issues. It is a little bit distressing that we don't have more of our board members and ex officio people here, but I would like to thank those from the town of Bluffton and Hilton Head for attending. We need to approve the minutes from our June 19th meeting, but there's an errata in it. We need to show that Mr. Buchanan was present and not absent for that meeting. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes for June 19th, 2024? There being none, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The minutes are approved as corrected. At this time, we will do introductions. We will start with the audience. Young lady in, the second young lady in blue.
Am I first? Karen Dowdy, Bluffton, South Carolina.
Laura Wilson, all the way Bluffton. Taylor Brewer, Stormwater Program Manager, Beaufort County.
Jacob Terry, Town of Hilton Head.
Ellen Serpcamo, Clemson Extension.
Ty Petty, USCP Water Quality Lab.
Hugh McCog, Beaufort County, Stormwater.
Brett Eric, Chemical Works.
Tammy Doe from Stormwater. Joanna Zorin, Stormwater Infrastructure.
Dennis Ross at large.
Ed Warner, Hilton Head.
Ron Buchanan, St. Helena Islands and East.
Bill Bauer, Town of Bluffton.
And I'm Mark Feinberg, and I am chairman, and I represent Defusky Island and unincorporated District 9. At this time, we'll open up the floor to public comments. Before they start, I would like to remind everyone in the public that we will accept no profanity, no personal attacks, and limit themselves to 3 minutes of discussion. Do we have any public comment at this time? There is an opportunity at the end of the meeting. There being none, we will move into reports, and we will have a utility update by Mrs. Brewer.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. For our utility update, annual financial report from the municipalities are due by September 30th. Please submit them to me. Item number 2, Wolpert is currently working on the scope for the fee revision in tax year 25. We've gotten that back since this was created. If anyone would like to see that, I can forward that along. I'm seeing heads nod, so I will go ahead and send an email about that.
Thank you.
A SoLoco technical subcommittee meeting was held on June 28th to discuss updates for the manual. Draft response to those comments was provided back to engineers and the public for additional comments. And the Town of Bluffton has opened their version up for the second public comment period right now. And it'll be open for 30 days, and we will open our version up very soon for the second public comment period. Public being primarily the engineering and developing community. For special presentations in October, Ms. Courtney Kimmel is going to come and give us a presentation on the Port Royal Sound Foundation. They are working on a data collection portal. They have brought together a lot of different state agencies, including us, DNR, the newly formed Department of Environmental Science, Department of Environmental Services, which is the new DHEC, and the USCB and several other entities. And they are working to have a portal that shows all current data that's being collected around the Port Royal Sound to determine the health of the sound. And it's fascinating. So she'll be here to go in depth on that in October. In December, I propose a field trip. We have a new WAPRO valve being installed on the tail end of one of our stormwater ponds that's owned by Beaufort County. And I think it would be really cool if we could coordinate to watch that being installed. That being said, it all depends on tides and things like that. So if we feel like it's not going to be feasible to pin down a date, I will let you know, and hopefully we can get it done prior to that meeting, and we can do an in-field to visit it.
Where is this located?
Backache Acres.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Backache Acres up near Sheldon.
Okay.
I think the more feasible option would to have it be installed prior to the meeting and us take a field trip to see it and have someone from that company explain to us the product and how it works and why it's effective. But I think it would be fun to get out in the field.
I think that would be an excellent field trip. Time of year is probably good. I think our meeting is December 18th or 11th. I have to look. But knowing that we need to audio-visual that area, so I guess the timing of the install would be critical to when you need to get the AV support.
Yes, sir, and I've been in contact with Broadcast, and they said with enough notice, they can move the meeting to there, so.
Okay, what's enough notice?
2 weeks-ish, 3 weeks-ish, a month. I'm gonna try to give them more than that.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Budget concurrence letters have all been received.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Before you go to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
Go ahead. Continue, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All budget concurrence letters have been received for fiscal year '25. Tax year 2024 stormwater utility credit letters have been mailed out. The deadline for providing them back to me was July 31st, and I received all of them back. So we are gonna review them and then send out approval or decline letters soon, by the 31st of this month, which is dwindling away.
Before you go to the next section,
Yes, sir.
because it has to do with utility update, I would like to enter into the record the thanks from the Stormwater Utility Board to Mrs. Katie Herrera for all the work and the steadfast commitment to improving the infrastructure in Beaufort County stormwater management. The Stormwater Utility Board wishes her continued success in her future endeavors.
Yes, sir. Thank you. With that, Mr. Petty, would you like to come up and do the monitoring update?
Taylor, before you go.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to ask something, and I'm not sure if this is a point in time, but it seems like month after month or every other month that we have the reports, it always seems that we have not received any utility update reports. We have issues with fiscal reporting or anything else that we're not getting from these, the towns and the cities. It probably doesn't make your job any easier not getting these reports or waiting till a very deadline, and quite frankly, we don't get a whole lot of participation except for Mr. Barrow that seems to come here. I can't remember that last time I saw Van Willis at one of these meetings, but is there anything that we can do as a board or that you guys might be able to do to encourage their participation, to give you the information that you need to make your reports fuller and more complete? Thank you.
I could definitely copy the board on a reminder email.
Do you send those out every month or every other month?
No, I do not, but I
Okay.
can.
Okay, I mean,
They, not from me, they do get a reminder
Okay.
to send in reports from staff,
but.
not
you-
me personally,
you
but
never-
I am willing to send out a personal reminder.
Yeah, if you could,
It may be, I think what Dennis may be, and I don't want to speak for Dennis, but but I will, a personal touch. I think we need to reach out and not just send an email to the primary people like Van in the town of Port Royal and his counterparts, telling them that they are missed. And their reports would be well received.
Noted.
I just think those are issues that we need to know and items that we need to be able to review to help you do your job. It's one thing to have these, I hate to use the term rogue operators out there, but if they're not telling you what the heck is going on, how can you effectively continue to do your job and make sure that the citizens of the county are well served? Just my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions for this section? Okay.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I don't have a whole lot to report. We finished Q2 sampling for the county, working on Q3 now. One thing we are trying to work on is, so we run nutrient samples for town of Bluffton and the county. Currently, we outsource those analyses, but we have secured the equipment to start doing it in-house. We're not running them in-house yet, and we'll have to work to get the DHEC certification. But we hope to offer that in the next maybe 6 to 8 months, and which in the end we could do it for cheaper, and so we can run more samples for the same price, sort of thing.
That's always good news.
Yes.
More for less. Rarity.
Yes. Any questions? That's about all that.
How is your staffing?
It could be better. We have a couple leads for lab manager. We still have Tyler, who works for us part-time and working. What we really need is a lab manager.
Yeah, I thought 2 months ago, you were looking for a lab manager.
Well, and we still are. I don't know if it's just the same thing a lot of businesses are having and being short-staffed and trying to find people. We've had some applications, but not as many as I was hope. So I'm hopeful. My goal was to have somebody hired before now, but because I teach at USCB, classes have started now, so I wanted this done and it's not. So I'm hoping in the next month or so, at least have somebody hired. Maybe they won't be in the lab working, but working towards that direction. So.
Interesting.
It's me and a part-time person doing everything right now, and it works, but it could be better.
It could be better.
During my briefing, I was gonna talk about the MST lab, but since you're standing up,
Yeah,
you can
sure.
go ahead. Can you tell them a little bit about the MST lab and the additional markers that we are trying to establish right now?
Yeah, so MST, just to remind you, it's microbial source tracking, so MST. So your typical EPA methods tell you that there are potential fecal bacteria present, which we monitor here in the county for recreational purposes, but primarily for shellfish beds and human health reasons. That doesn't tell you where the bacteria comes from. We can use genetics to show that the bacteria is likely coming from a human source, a dog, a horse, deer, whatever. And so we've been running, town of Bluffton since 2016 has been doing MST in the May River. Originally, those samples were going down to a Florida lab. We now do it in-house up here at USCB. We've been running the human markers, which have been, I would say, better developed and more widely used, and there's an EPA method for that. So we've been doing those since 2021 or 2022 at USCB.
I thought it was before that, but it's around that time.
Yeah, it was right after COVID,
Right.
so it could be
It'd be
2020.
Do those results get published publicly?
No.
Well, you have them on your
Well,
storyboard.
We do have it on our storyboard.
Yeah.
You could go look them up, but we don't actually publish them into any kind of message.
I mean,
It's available
I'm
for-
just curious that the public, knows whether we're having septic human failure or whether it's indigenous to the birds and the wildlife, beavers and,
When we find the human contact, we publish that.
Okay,
And progress has been slow for staffing reasons and such, but I'm working with their data to eventually look at, because I mean, they now have, what is that, 8 years or so worth of MST data, so we can start looking at some of the longer term trends for those sort of things. The Miami or Florida lab used to run other animals besides human, and we have recently got markers working well for dog, horse, deer. We have bird working, but it, for some reason, doesn't do well with geese, and which around here can be a problem. Just read. So
in the parking lot here.
yes, so
Attacking you.
we have gotten some new markers that we just haven't had a chance to test out, and we hope will be more goose specific, so we can offer more. We're also working on. You're gonna hear all this tomorrow. But,
Yeah,
I'm talking to Bluffton tomorrow about this in more detail, but we've been working with, so New Moors has, you may or may not know, have cattle up there now as part of their maintaining grasslands. And so this summer, we started a project with them to collect samples to look at just the standard fecal bacteria levels, but then try to use source tracking to what they would like to hope, or what they hope to show is that the cattle are not having a negative effect on the watershed. So we're developing markers for cow too, and there's another animal that I'm forgetting right now. I know there was some interest in cat also too. Anyways, so we got the 4 markers, and we got some more coming.
Great.
Yep.
thank you.
Good luck, continued success.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Petty. For the Stormwater Implementation Committee, CWI reports will go out prior to September 1st. Thank you, Stephen and Joe, for all your diligent work on those. For regional coordination, Old Woodlands, the report is being reviewed in preparation to go out to bid. All Joy went out to bid about a week and a half ago. And I have exciting news that we just got hot off the press today at 12:24. This is a letter to Mr. Moore. It is called a notice to proceed from the Rural Infrastructure Authority, giving us the money, basically, saying that we can go ahead and officially use money to start this project, which is very exciting because we also have a project that we've been waiting for 2 years for funding for. So it's nice to know that this one will be accessible a lot quicker than that. That being said, we're working with RIA staff to make sure that we fulfill all of our requirements. That will be out, the drainage study will be out to bid until September 3rd. We had a pre-qualification meeting yesterday, I believe, and there were 13 engineers in attendance, so it's receiving a lot of attention from the engineering public. Questions will be taken through the 23rd. So we're doing our best to go through and answer any questions that any submitting firms may have so that they can continue with their application.
When do they do?
The 3rd, September 3rd
So-
at 3 p.m. we are closing the RFQ.
Great. Good, moving along.
At that time, we will work with RIA and staff to choose an engineering firm to complete the study. Okay. I'm almost lost. Lost my place, sorry. Sorry. Okay, Ocoee River study. We're working with the town of Bluffton to conduct a study on the Ocoee, very similar to what was conducted on the May. The study should establish background data and include analysis of current conditions and make correlations between the two that could direct future zoning requirements. We're working with Dr. Tweel on that study. Are there any questions on that one? No? Municipal reports. Mr. Bill, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm the only one here. The big things going on in Bluffton, oh, I'm sorry, Hilton Head.
We had Hilton Head. I was going to correct you.
I'll have to buy you lunch sometime.
He didn't recognize you with your hat off.
Yeah, that's what it was, exactly. Hayward Code drainage study that we started last fiscal year has been completed. We're at the point now where we're notifying or putting together a notification to infrastructure owners, i.e. South Carolina Department of Transportation, Beaufort County, private communities, and the town of Bluffton's own infrastructure, and notating where any deficiencies or corrections need to be had. We're gonna send out those letters soon, and then set up meetings to discuss what needs to be done. Hayward Cove is our first drainage study. We're right now doing another drainage study in Crooked Cove and Hugie Cove. And when those are about halfway through, and they'll follow the same format. Once we know what all the infrastructure is out there, any issues that may be around there, we'll contact the owners and see what we can do. With the last storm, we're kind of reevaluating what the next project is. And once we find that out, we'll start the fiscal year 25 studies probably sometime in December. So those are moving along at a good pace. Talk about storm related, we held a public information gathering event last night at Pritchardville Elementary School for flooding issues that were in and around Bluffton. We had 50 residents show up and kind of detail what they saw, how much damage, if any damage happened, and exactly where it occurred. So it was a good turnout. We're going to have another public involvement at the Bluffton Seafood Festival, and we'll be out there if anybody wants to give us more information then. Taylor kind of talked on the SoLocal manual. It is out for review to the engineering community and for about 30 more days, and that'll be closed out. Thank you, Doctor, for giving your little speech, and that pretty much ends my update.
Thank you, and we know the town of Bluffton had some serious issues with Hurricane Debbie, and I'm sure you're still fielding those.
As of a few minutes ago.
Taylor?
So first and foremost, I just need to give a shout out to Jeff Netzinger, who's still dealing with the blunt force of a lot of phone calls and a lot of queries into Tropical Storm Debbie, so that is why he's not here today. And also to our entire stormwater staff. They were working around the clock. One did have to leave due to her daughter having a baby during the storm, so she was promptly back after all the newborn stuff was taken care of. So one of the major highlights is across 4 pump stations, we pumped out 400 million gallons of water. That was pre, during, and post. We did have some issues mechanically on a couple of the pumps, but we survived it, and that's all that mattered. So other than that, we just had our anniversary for one of our stormwater inspectors, and we have a 6-month anniversary coming up for another one of our stormwater inspectors, which brings me to the point of why we have stormwater inspectors now, rather just having one for all of our large construction general permits, because we just reached our 1-year anniversary for single-family residential inspections and pools and spas inspections and demo inspections. That program is dang good. We have some phenomenal guys who are in that program who love, dedicated, and continually want to grow. And I'm glad you told me about the WAPO. We have one guy who came from Public Works on Tybee Island, and I'm sure he's going to eat it up. So thanks for providing that, and he's definitely going to be there. So, but other than that, still dealing with a little bit of the after effects of Stormwater Debbie, but we're surviving and thriving at this time. So,
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to stormwater-related projects. We meet almost monthly, bi-monthly for easement meetings, and we're working through making sure that we have attained all of the easements that we are actively maintaining right now and have historically maintained, and then we are making sure that we acquire all easements that we need to keep our system clean.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
And this was, I don't think you were at that Councilman Dawson's meeting that was back in July. But there was a question about an easement on Pearl Road, 19 Pearl Road. Did you guys find anything out about that?
I can find out if that was on our last drainage list, but I will look that up for you to
Okay.
save everyone the time of me looking through my notes. But we just had one last week, so I will check on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Complaints, we continually work through multiple complaints. I think also shout out to my team for Tropical Storm Debbie. It was my first time working in the EOC, and we did a great, awesome, wonderful job. And the field crews were amazing and got multiple compliments from people out in the field, and people were very appreciative for how fast and quick we reacted. So that was fantastic. Shell Point, we received one bid for construction. Again, that's the maintenance shelf establishment and clearing project. Approval will be on the Public Facilities Committee agenda for September. We're still waiting on approval of a senatorial earmark request through Senator Graham's office. And we have been working with SCEMD to provide updated cost information because the cost share match went up to 90% for federal, which is fantastic. So because we asked for less money, because fewer of the projects were feasible than we thought, then they went ahead and upped the cost share. So that's fantastic. The Factory Creek watershed is lost in legal land, but I think we are very close. So he now has two options to, pay the county for the work that was done, and we are obtaining a maintenance agreement from him to make sure that that pond is maintained in perpetuity. Tuxedo Park, we're going to get task order approval at the September PFC meeting, followed by council approval in early October instead of September. Scratch that. Hickory Hill, same thing. Arthur Horn, we've not heard anything back from the grant people, but they said that they're waiting for headquarters, which is up in Washington, to finish up their beginning of the fiscal year things that they do so that we can have a final number on what our award amount is going to be for Arthur Horn. But I'm very excited for that one. Professional contracts. We closed all TOs and POs from last year and started over for simplicity and clarity. So these are the only ones that we have open currently. We have a task order for plan review, a task order for the continuous monitoring station that's on 278 for them to continue to maintain that. Then we have a task order for the restructure of the utility fee, and then also tax run for tax year 24 has started. So that's a super fun thing of crunching a lot of numbers. We got the impervious area flyover was done internally this year by GIS. So we got the impervious area data back last week. We got that quickly to Wolpert. They are going to do some QA/QC, and then they are going to start the fee assessment and go through. Our deadline to have the fee assessment information back to the tax assessor's office is September 17th.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not totally cognizant of what that entails. Who is going to be taxed depending on how much impervious surface they have?
So currently, our stormwater utility fee is a combination of your gross area, your impervious area, which tier you are in, if you are residential or commercial. It's also added in a management fee because we manage the utility, and then your CWI fees are factored in as well if you live in a municipality. So it's a combination of all of that. Everyone gets a stormwater utility fee. Right.
Now, it's my understanding, though, that there are no standards, and I don't know, and I'll plead ignorance to the Soloco manual, whether it's a point that people are supposed to hit a target of impervious surfaces depending on whether it's commercial or residential. So if someone is building on a residential lot or within, let's just say, a standalone, we don't have any definitive 70% or, 30% pervious to a plot. We don't state that.
No. Technically, you can build out to 100% impervious. You're just going to be charged at a higher rate. It's a kind of a sliding scale fee. So the more impervious you have, the higher you'll be charged. But we don't have a per se guideline or cap.
Is there not a GMP on that issue? And you wouldn't think you'd want, for commercial for sure, but I would think you'd want to keep residential to a certain percentage of pervious to impervious.
In certain PUDs, they are restricted to a certain percent
I know
impervious that they have to stay
in
under.
some private communities, they set their own standards, but there's no GMPs for that?
No, sir.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then for the MS4 report, we're doing a lot of plan review. We have projects flying in. The guys are doing great with inspections, and they were our logistics team for these tropical storms, so they had to play a little bit of catch up in the past couple of weeks, but they've done great with that. And then the staff update. Mr. Feinberg beat me to the punch, but Katie wrote a nice letter that I would like to read to the board. I would like to personally thank all members of the Stormwater team for all of their hard work in fiscal year 2024. It is a thankless job to do what everyone on our team does day in and day out in service of the community. Without all members of Stephen Carter's team, no work would be completed. Without Joanna and Daphne, reports would not be completed and management staff would be in a serious hole. Without Ms. Tammy, the financial aspect of our program would overwhelm even the most seasoned staff. Without Taylor and her team, the county would be out of compliance with its permit. As we move into fiscal year 2025, there is no break, and in fact, the workload speeds up. From the CWI reports to municipalities, the tax run, issuing new contracts and purchase orders. Without the amazing members of the Stormwater team, this program would come to a screeching halt. Thank you to everyone who keeps the second largest section of Public Works running as efficiently as it does. With humble appreciation, Katie Herrera, former Assistant Public Works Director. I thought that was very nice and summed up our feelings towards our job. With that,
Well, before you go on,
yes, sir.
all right, the Stormwater Utility Board wishes to recognize the work performed by Mr. Stephen Carter's maintenance crews in the Alljoy area. These efforts prevented more serious flooding as the result of Tropical Storm Debbie's excessive rainfall. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen for our maintenance project update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Stephen Carter, Stormwater Superintendent. Today I want to talk to you all about some of the work that the Stormwater crews have done, some of the major projects and some of the minor projects. I really appreciate those guys on Stormwater. Even we may be short-staffed, but those guys stick it out, thick and thin. They get the job done. The first one I want to speak about is the Community Center Road Channel. And this project improved 651 linear feet of drainage system. The scope of work included grubbing, clearing, and cleaning out 651 linear feet of channel and installing 1 bleeder pipe. The total cost of that project was $29,436. As you can see in your pamphlet that you have on the major projects, that's one of the major projects that Stormwater has completed. We skipped down to some of the minor routine projects. We have the Town of Hilton Head, the vacuum truck. The Town of Hilton Head vacuum truck, this project improved 223 linear feet of drainage system. The scope of work included cleaning out 4 catch basins and jetting 1 cross line pipe, 12 driveway pipes, and 223 linear feet of channel pipe. The total cost of that was $5,487. If you gentlemen continue to look through your pamphlet, you'll see a list of all the other minor or routine projects that Stormwater has completed. Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
There is no liaison report today. Our liaison called me and apologized that she had a previous county commitment, that she could not be here today. So with that, we will move into the next item, which is any unfinished business. Gentlemen? Staff? With that, we'd move into new business. Is there any new business that needs to come before the board?
Can I make a recommendation? And this is just purely me, and it's obviously up for discussion with those of us that are here today. You know, every month we get these reports that come out, and there's a lot of information in those reports, and honestly, there's got to be a ton of work that goes into producing these reports. Can't speak for everyone in their diligence in going through these reports and what's in there once we receive these packages when they're published. But I think it's inherent upon us to make sure that we do go through, and if we have any questions, to bring them up. I just think that there's a lot of stuff in there that we could perhaps, again, knowing what's going on, to perhaps streamline what we get in these reports to make it easier on some of these reporting parties, to free them up to do other things. I mean, let's face it, every month we hear things from either the Public Works Chairman or Taylor or Mr. Carter or Bradley. Everybody says that, you know, we're not hiring enough people, we don't have enough people to do the work. And I realize it's just paperwork, but just, you know, Joanna and Tammy and even Daphne before could probably tell you, it's a lot of stuff to collate and put together every month. I personally would like to see maybe a little bit less, or maybe highlights. It's like, if we have a problem, bring it to our attention. If we have a question, we can ask about it, and it could be addressed at the next meeting, or even in a chain of emails to at least the members of the board. That's just my suggestion. Obviously, it's up to everyone to decide whether they would like to go that route or not, but I think whatever we could do to streamline things and make things more efficient, I think would be in everyone's best interest. It's not that I don't mind reading these things at 11:30 at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, because it's a help, I'll tell you. But I think there's a lot of information in there that, I mean, I know that Mr. Carter's group goes into a lot of work taking those pictures before, during, and after, with the amount of work and the cost that goes into that stuff. It's a lot. Could that time be spent elsewhere? I don't know. But those are things that I think that we might want to look into.
I'd like to propose, good job, thank you. I'd like to propose the establishment of an ad hoc committee to study and propose improvements to the report section of the stormwater report. I will be soliciting from our board people who want to serve on this ad hoc committee to streamline those reports, and to work with Taylor's group to see if we can do that. So I'm not going to make it a motion, but I will reach out and create an ad hoc committee to see if we can do that for fiscal year 2025.
That'd be great.
Ron, you had something?
Yeah, can I ask a question if I may have missed it? What is the status of the Ladies Island survey or work product going on there.
Yes, sir. So we have narrowed that down to one project, and I believe, Riley, help me out, that's the Hickory Hill, Northern Ladies Island.
The Ladies Island? No, that's, the Roll Pines area.
Yeah.
The ones that we have.
Got it, okay. We have a study on that area, and we are gonna go out and assess the recommendations to see if we can do them in-house or if we need to hire a contractor.
Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yes.
Should that be listed under new projects or under projects?
It's not technically new, we're just,
Well, under projects?
yes, sir, I can do that.
So how's everybody doing this afternoon? So we just received that back in, is it May, correct? We got this,
May, yes.
we got it back in May, so we've kind of put our arms around it and figured out, we identified I think there's 5 or 6 major areas. So we've already met with SCDOT, and their group on some of the areas, because a lot of the areas in Roll Pines drain to SCDOT areas. So met with them out there, we've identified 2 major areas. We have to wait on SCDOT to do some work first. Once they get their work done, we'll be able to tie in a section there that will help Roll Pines Drive, the main drive going to Roll Pines.
Right.
Help that. There's some issues on the old golf course side that we technically, the county doesn't own those properties. So, there's some issues with the old golf course there. I think the county, in that we do have some maintenance agreements, I think, on some of those areas, but I'm not 100% sure. We've done some work there in the past. There's some old information that was done years ago that we don't have a lot of background stuff on, so we're still learning some of those areas. There's some areas that are just very low-lying areas, Needle Rush, Turtle Lane, those areas. There's some really low-lying areas in there. We're looking at some possibilities to help those drainage areas, but when these drainage studies come out, sometimes there's just not an answer for some of these low-lying areas. There's just no way to get the low-lying areas drained. That's just naturally they're low and it won't drain. But we are looking at those areas. We've met with DOT. We are currently working on the major areas identified. Another major area identified was Tuxedo Park off of Sam's Point Road, just down from the Roll Pines there. That's a major area. That should go to council next month, I believe, or PFC then council. That's a major project. We're gonna basically dredge out that old pond that's there. So that's gonna create a lot more capacity for that drainage system in that area. So we are currently working on some of those areas.
A question, it was not listed. Are you looking at, or is the Stormwater Group looking at Pepper Hall? That's one we're responsible for in terms of how we were committed to their water retention, and I've not seen anything written on the Pepper Hall project in some time. They've got a sign out front now. They'll probably be selling lots and condos any day.
So I do have we are working on that currently. That area has obviously been identified. There's a stormwater pond that was built some back years ago. I say built, it was rehabilitated. There was some work done there by the Graves Construction. We've identified that there's some issues in that area. We've identified those, and Wolpert has looked at that and we're gonna come up with a design to make some repairs to that area. So we need to make some repairs to the area. And there's not any major improvements, but there are some infrastructure repairs that need to be made.
Well, again, I think that we need to put those, so we can highlight those as
Okay.
projects going forward, that we know what we're doing in the county, in case we get questions.
Sure.
Yes, sir, and those were fast-forwarded due to complaints and other interests, so they didn't become projects until maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was, those were, couples were kind of delayed, but.
Well, if you look back in the last several years' budget, last year, I don't think any monies, but before that, it was something like, we're responsible for that drainage in that area in perpetuity, and we originally were putting something to the tune of $500,000 a year to that issue. So I think could become a major project. It was entered into several years ago by the county, and this board was strongly opposed it, but it was passed anyway by the board, the county council.
Was that Graves property area
Yes,
with the thing? Yeah.
yes.
So that was obviously, I know there was I want to say there was a USDA grant that was approved for that. That's the past information that I have, the historical
Well,
knowledge is.
I can tell you that the county entered into a contract and they'd be responsible for the roads and we'd be responsible again for perpetuity of that stormwater.
I can definitely look into it and figure out what all
Please.
we're responsible for. What we need to
What
maintain.
we need to make sure that it's highlighted.
Sure.
You know, that we know what's going on there.
Yep. I know our inspectors have been all over that area. Our stormwater inspectors they've been hitting that area hard. There's just so much construction going up the area.
Yes.
They've
One-
really
one-
been on top of it, and I know they've made some, they've actually had some stop work orders out there. So they've had a couple stop work orders, or right to the verge of stop work orders, or get it fixed. So our inspectors have definitely been looking at that.
So, again, I just think we need to highlight it so everybody's aware that it's going on.
Yes, sir.
While you're up there, Bradley.
Yes, sir.
Well, two things. One, Councilman Dawson, as I said, he had his community meeting to discuss stormwater, and I think you guys were kind of blindsided by
Yes, sir.
the month before last, but these guys, particularly Bradley, showed up with their, pictures and circles and paragraphs explaining what everything was, and made themselves available to the constituents in his particular district, which I thought was great. There was a lot of tough questions, and you guys came up with a lot of good answers, and hopefully some of these problems are getting resolved, and I think you really helped clear up some of the questions these folks had.
Yes, sir.
So on that, thank you for that. I think
You're
that's
welcome.
great. The other thing is, I'm kind of like a dog without a bone. We've talked about this over a couple of meetings about having the stormwater projects, that are on, Mr. Carter's office or whatever there, that, what you're working on, when and where, and it's not readily available to the public. Is there any progress being made on that to hopefully get that out on the Beaufort County website so that folks can see what it is?
It is, there's not much progress. Not much
That's why I keep
progress.
bringing it up,
Yeah,
buddy.
not much progress. Reason being, they were trying to incorporate, like I told you before, they're trying to incorporate not just stormwater infrastructure.
Yes.
They're trying to incorporate all of public works, facilities maintenance. They're trying to get basically asset management software, something that can show all these projects and show the line item. They're trying to
Good.
group all that together. That did not pass through this year's budget to do that. Not saying that we can't come up with something in-house. We can maybe work with IT to try to get something for stormwater infrastructure and just show some projects that are ongoing.
Well, if you really could, I know that there would be so many people that would benefit from that.
Sure.
And I think, again, I sound like a broken record, like a dog without, after
I
a bone.
kind of sound like going back to
I
you,
know,
sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
But I think it's gonna be best, and hopefully it'll cut down on some of your workload
Yep.
from some of the citizen grants that you guys have to respond to and say, yep, you're on the schedule, you're on the list. We're sure it would be nice to be able, folks to be able to just punch on there and see it. So whatever you guys can keep doing and push that through, man,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
Before you leave, you mentioned a word that a place that I'd never heard, and I think needle rush.
Needle rush?
And I understand that we received a complaint about flooding in Needle Rush.
And Needle Rush, Carter, is that yeah, he's going. Oy. So Needle Rush, I'm trying to think if that's a county road. I don't-
Is that part of Ladies Island?
It is, that's part of Ladies Island. So that's either, I'm not sure if it's a state road or county road. Off the top of my mind, I've just had so many roads in my mind lately.
okay.
I don't know if it's county or state. I think it takes a little bit of state drainage, but I don't want to say for sure. We looked at that Needle Rush area. So the back of that Needle Rush area is just a very, very low-lying area. And there's one residence there that it really affects. Really
That may
bad.
be who called and complained.
They did, and I looked at we personally looked at your yard on last Wednesday. The backyard was still flooded. It still had water in it. There's just no really good way for that water to go there. It just does not drain. And that road that goes in there, the drainage on that road actually drains into that low-lying area. So, in turn, when that low-lying area fills up, it fills that yard up. We don't, and until this water gets receded some and we can really get out there and look at it and have some survey done or check some grades, we just don't know exactly how to drain that area yet.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate
That
it.
all?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With no other new business, we'll move into public comment. We have two members of the public.
Hello.
Hello.
before you start the clock, I have Werther's. Would anybody want some? You good? Good?
I'll take one, thank you.
Anyway, I must be trying to have them. Usually I'll pass them out before. Here, I'll give you one.
Thank you.
I just want to, my name is Laura Wilson. I'm from Alljoy. We wanted to come today, and I do have some questions for Mrs. Brewer also, but I'm going to just send them in an email. It'll be easier, and then include some of the board members as well. We first just want to come up here and just say a big thank you. And, you know, it's funny, even though I know you mentioned, Chairman, that at the beginning, you know, there wasn't, you know, with the board and people not here, the folks that are here, you've made a difference. You've made a difference in a community. I mean, Mark first came out in October 3rd, came around, looked at the ditches and like, what's going on? Things were put up on the screens. We did want to ask, though, we do have pictures in the future that we'd like to show some of the stuff, and we wanted to give some shout-out pictures, but who do we send them to? Who is that person? To you? Because I thought it was, no? I can send them to you and they will go up? They will go forward? Okay. So, in with that too, because even coming down and when it first started and you saw everything, I mean, things happened, and then after that, Taylor came on the 31st, but it's made such a difference. And what has also been a difference here lately, prior to this Storm W, and we sent, I know you guys got a thank you on the 9th, we sent it to County Council, to you guys, to everybody we could think of to thank, because we are that appreciative, because something's changed. We had that meeting last month, the public meeting, and, you know, and it was a concern we were going to get, you know, updates on the stormwater drainage and so forth. And we also decided to invite, like, the vice chair of council, and I was so glad that, you know, Mr. Moore came as well. But we walked in, and it was funny because initially it wasn't advertised. Everybody's wondering, why wasn't this advertised? First time in years. Even our representative, Mr. Lawson, had mentioned, you know, what is such a small crowd. And, you know, you wanted to almost feel discouragement, but then afterwards, something happened. It's like clouds disappeared and opened up, because workers that were in Alljoy, folks had smiles on their faces. I mean, it's like a countenance that lifted. And, you know, and the gentleman, what is it, David Willem and Brad were there, and, you know, of course, Mr. Carter's out there, but it was just such a different can-do, we've got this. And I even said, because I don't fuss a lot with my ditch, because it's the community that's the concern, and I said, oh, you don't have to worry about mine. They said, ma'am, we are instructed to do every single ditch and Alljoy clean every single culvert. And I'm like, and I tell you what, we just love dropping off like frescas and waters and just thanking your crews. But I thank this board, because when you came down, that was the start. It made a difference. And different members, you know, Patrick, another one. So I just want to say thank you there. Thank you to Public Works. Thank you to the stormwater teams. I tell you what, it is, again, like a night and day difference, but also just the folks you can see, it's on the pride. You know, James, who I jokingly say Eeyore because he's lost his tail, he seems a little grumpy, but I mean, he was a plethora of information and he was just on it. It's just the change has occurred, and that's wonderful. It's such an encouragement for our area. But also when it came to with this storm hitting, we were ready. And that's because of you guys, and we thank you. The only thing I wanted to say, and we'll send in a couple emails, because we do have a lot more work on Alljoy Road. They were underwater 2 feet. And so thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome.
And I too second that.
You gotta go up and say.
I know, I'm going. So Karen Dowdy and I live on Oyster Street, and the crew came out and our ditches are clean. And we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. It has made such a huge difference in the neighborhood. So again, we cannot thank you enough.
You're very welcome. That is what the Stormwater Utility Board is here for. We need to, with that, and if there is no other public comment, move to the next meeting agenda. Has it been changed?
Not yet.
It has not. Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve the next meeting agenda, removing the name Katie Herrera, in its place put Taylor Brewer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have a motion?
I thought you moved.
Oh, I can't.
Well, I so move what you just said.
Yeah, that'll
And I'll
be-
second what Ed said.
Okay,
You want me to get serious and make a motion?
that's all right.
Consider your audience.
The agenda, the proposed agenda for October 16th, with the following corrections of removing the name Katie Herrera and placing Taylor Brewer in its place, has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The proposed meeting agenda is approved. With no other further go to the cause comments, this meeting is adjourned.